Does that make some kind of sense? Right. So what we do with human programming, therefore, is I go in and work with you, not to my agenda, but to yours. Because your body intelligence knows exactly where you're supposed to be, how you got off track, where you are now, how to get you back again. So we can change programs and issues that have been vexing you since childbirth, and sometimes even before, depending what your parents are like, and get you running according to your correct programs. It doesn't matter what my correct programs are, because you're not going to be running mine. You're going to be running yours. And we get you to run them cleanly and efficiently and with maximum capacity so that you can go out there and create a great life, a great business, and in the case of this group, a really terrific book. That's me. Oh, and I do have a special. Thank you, Edie.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And we appreciate it. So I actually do have a special, and I will tell you about that after questions. Yes?
Is there an overlay with the programming that you do and neuro-linguistic programming? Do you?
Neuro-linguistic programming is an absolutely fabulous kindergarten, first grade, baby step, really good way of explaining how people work approach.
Okay, because I notice you have very specific languaging that you use with what you're doing. Absolutely. So that's powerful for the person after they leave you then with the
yes.
Some of the words that you're using. Yeah.
Really what I'm working with is an operating code, a programming code. So for instance, for those who are interested, I did bring some handouts which give that success code, plus some others, which you're very welcome to take home and apply every day, and I strongly suggest that you do. So these codes actually work universally. They're not culturally dependent. When I'm working with someone, then I have to speak to them at least long enough to find out what's going on for them. Actually, that's not true. I would be able to work with someone who is completely mute, but they wouldn't learn as much. The talking is really to help the person identify what it is and how they got that condition so that they can keep out of those sorts of situations, like not walk down that street anymore.
It was very interesting, thank you.
How is this different from brain gym?
I don't know enough about brain gym to address that.
Well, it's the same muscle testing, and they hit the points in the body to see where it's weak and test it and strengthen it. But it's, I mean, I did that for years and I still have the same problems.
Well, what I'm doing is computer coding. So the numbers and the points are very significant. With every, Geotran is the name of this coding system that I use. I learned it from the woman who created it, who still lives in Arizona. And every correction has both numbers and geometries associated with it. So geometries are things like circles and points and tabs and all that good stuff. So the geometry locates the open circuit. If you picture a circuit board, it's like, you can't get from here to there because that circuit's open. That locates the circuit, and then the numbers correct the circuit. It really is a computer programming language. It just works on us. And let's face it, we need it even more than our dear little electronic companions do. Yeah.
Can you offer some kind of a virus firewall program?
I'm so sorry, I didn't hear that.
A virus firewall program. A way to protect yourself psychically from bringing in new negative programs.
What I use myself personally and with clients is my teacher has created some liquid energy remedies that teach your field how to protect itself better. I'm sorry to tell you that none of us, and we have looked for years on this, have found a way to throw a given person out and they will permanently be gone. If you get in touch with them, if they get in touch with you, there is at least a chance that you can get reinfected with whatever, with their loss, lack, failure, sorrow, ruin, grief, anger, jealousy, cravings, coveting, whatever. So the best way to protect yourself is hang out with people like us.
Yeah. So that was my question, and that doesn't say much for the health professions, where people are working with people struggling and in pain, and oftentimes I know people in the field of therapy or counseling or helping will take an issue that happened to them, for instance, sexual abuse, and then they work with all people with that topic because they feel that, you know, they've healed a lot from that.
Mhm.
So what do you, that sounds like kind of challenging.
It is.
Place in your perspective.
Whenever I work with someone, I make sure that I've disconnected from that person when they leave. In fact, I do my level best to actually forget about whatever the session was about, which really makes it so much easier to keep confidence as well. People are trusting me with stuff that they may not even know is bothering them until they come to somebody like me. It is pretty much a given in energy work that you are going to be helping people clear what you have learned to clear yourself. So everybody I know has a particular audience that they are the most comfortable with. They're used to tuning into that radio frequency and they know how to deal with it. And I think that's okay. I can also work with people who have issues that I've never heard about before. And that's so much more fun. It's like, oh gosh, not that again. It's, oh, look, here's something new and juicy.
I just meant in terms of, yes, them protecting themselves or not continuing to take on, constantly take on these negative programs that you're talking about.
Yeah, as a practitioner, I have to be discerning and I have to be quick to correct if I pick up something from somebody else. And of course, I'm hoping that I'm not contaminating them on the other side too. I'm also very careful with my boundaries in that respect. But it's a great question. Yes?
And what if those toxic people are your parents?
Here's my experience, and I recommend it to everybody else. I find 3,000 miles away works really, really well.
Boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, but energy is energy.
3,000 miles away still helps, because they are not going to come around for Sunday dinner. At least not without a lot of warning. Having said that, when I work with people on that sort of thing, if we go in and resolve and heal the bruises or the soft places that the other person hooks into, then when they send out the next grappling iron, there's nothing for it to hold on to. And then it's possible to become very neutral, even towards your parents. I know it's a challenging thought, but really it is.
I do have a question. I agree with what you just said. Energetically, like I could feel my mom didn't want me to move from Texas, and so she still wants me to be in Austin. And so it kept me from getting settled in Laguna Beach. But someone helped me, similar to what you're doing, is kinesiology, and helped me block out that energy, because my mom was all up in my business, and I didn't know it. But every time she thought about me or she was putting her own fears out, it's so true. You take that stuff on and walk around with it.
Absolutely.
And it was a block. It was keeping me from making money and getting settled and all that kind of stuff. I do have a question though.
Sure.
Addiction. Do you work with addiction issues and pinpoint, is it a past life thing? Is it in this lifetime? Because I think with everyone it's a little different.
Well, that is the case. It is different with every person. And that is something that's so interesting about energy work in general. I find it over and over again myself, is that even if someone presents to you with what appears to be exactly the same condition, person A, person B, where it's coming from in each of them is unique. And we're working on causes, not symptoms. Right. Symptoms are usually relatively easy to clear up once you've got the causes. And the causes can go, as you all know, I'm sure, can go way far back. Plus, my experience is, as well as finding that you've got somebody else's program on you, that program may be cancer. That program might be TB. That program might be an addiction. Do you see? So that you can be walking around as the embodiment of somebody else's physical or emotional or mental issue, which is a pretty scary thought. And in counterpoints, let me point out that at least we can fix that. Once we identify it, we can deal with that stuff really easily, because if it's not your issue, and 80% of the time it's not, it doesn't belong in your system, and we can pop it out, just like I pop my chocolate truffles out of their little silicon molds. With the difference being that you actually want to catch the truffles. These people's issues you don't want to catch. Where are your chocolate?
Yeah.
One of our number here, I'm not going to identify who it is, was kind enough to say to me, wow, I wish I had your confidence standing up in front of people and talking. Well, here's where I get to admit my human frailties. I set everything out, you know, I've got handouts, I've got the offer thingy, I've got my cards, I've got my new MacBook Air. I did so well. And I put the tin of truffles, I had it all sorted out, nicely arranged, in the fridge until the last minute. And I was so anxious to get here and have the things I needed for the presentation that I forgot the chocolate.
Next week.
You're so forgetful.
You're going to need a lot.
Did you bring that? And I don't want you all to get addicted to the chocolate, you know, instead of listening here. But I will bring some next week. So you can bring as many.
My question is, when I was with the fire department, I was with LA City, and when I first got hired with them, I used to watch the paramedics and hear how negatively they would be talking at a scene.
Yes.
And I was like, how on earth could they even talk like that? But what I realized, and it's kind of goes with this, is that was their mechanism to keep all that traumatic, you know, exposure to all the traumatic injuries and situations out. And I found myself doing the exact same thing, and it was almost like I would watch myself do this, and I go, how unhuman seeming, or you know, whatever my phrase was. I felt like I was being callous and not compassionate, but I really had to do that in order to deprogram from the whole scenario.
To detach.
To detach, yes.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge. Because as my teacher says, if you walk with someone who limps, eventually you're going to start to limp. Yeah. That's what you're finding out. You're listening to a bunch of people who are on a certain wavelength, a certain radio frequency, and you start doing that, and it may be something that has its good side. But were you able to leave it back there when you moved on?
I left it in the department.
Exactly. That's the main thing. Can you? Yeah, just really briefly.
So can you clean the entire slate? For example, I have problems sometimes getting from A to B.
Yeah.
So if I deal with one problem that's preventing me from doing that,
Yeah.
well, I mean, pretty fast I have 100 other reasons why I still can't do that.
You know, I could go in there and, for any of you, and clean up every single computer virus, glitch, whatever, and you would have the mother of all detox reactions. So I'm listening all the time to your body intelligence, to your hard drive, because it always knows exactly what is ready to clear right now. And I don't go beyond that, because I don't want to blow your system. Very quickly.
Don't you believe it? It's like baby steps. If you,
Exactly.
It's like when I work with people in organization stuff, you know, if I just go in and make it all visually look good, they still have to maintain it. So you have to do the teaching along the way. What's the process? So you kind of have to clean up one little area,
That's
and
right.
the next little area. So it's the same thing.
That is exactly true, and you know what that area is. You may not know it consciously.
Yeah.
People will come up to me, will come into my office and say, oh, I want to work on this. And I'll always listen in, and I'll say, well, yes, we can, and yet we actually need to do these three things first.
Yeah.
And then we can clear that thing. Speaking of which, for this group only, I have a little offer. And it comes in two parts. One, anybody around this table is welcome to come and have a free session with me. An hour-long session, we can normally clear 2 to 3 to 4 major issues. A couple of people around this table have already had, I think, quite a good experience with that. And also, I actually do a 2-month, get yourself sorted out up to the next level, kind of coaching geotran thing, which is 8 sessions. I normally charge $2,200 for this, and for this group only, if you sign up during the course of the group, I'm knocking $1,000 off that, so that it's $1,200. So, pass those around that way, pass these around that way, take whatever interests you. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you so much, Kyre. Every week, we try to have one of our certified professional